The barn door groaned as the rancher pushed it shut, dust lifting in slow spirals around his boots. The rope burned his palms, but he didn't loosen his grip. She stood against the post, wrists trembling, eyes wide with a fear that had learned his name. Blood dripped somewhere, maybe from the calf on the ground, maybe from her scraped knuckles, but the sound filled the whole space. He told himself this was mercy, that finishing it quickly was better than leaving things half done. That was how the West worked. That was how men survived. She shook her head, lips barely moving, voice breaking apart before it reached him. Don't do that, please. The words slipped under his skin, found old scars he pretended weren't there. He pulled once more, harder, jaw clenched, forcing himself not to look at her face. Outside, the wind howled through the boards like a warning he refused to hear. The rope tightened. The moment stretched too long. And then it was done, or so he thought. Silence fell heavy, wrong. He turned back, ready to step away, when his boot struck something soft. He looked down. The lantern light revealed not what he expected, not what he had told himself would be there. His breath caught so sharply it felt like being shot. The shape on the ground was smaller. Fragile. The truth crashed into him all at once, sickening and undeniable. His hands began to shake, the rope slipping free as memories rewrote themselves in brutal clarity. Her pleading hadn't been fear for herself. It had been terror for what he hadn't seen. He dropped to his knees, heart pounding so loud it drowned the night. Outside, a coyote yipped, distant and mocking. He tried to speak, to call her name, but no sound came. The barn that had once felt like shelter now closed in, every shadow accusing. He understood then that the worst mistakes aren't made in anger, but in certainty. She rushed forward despite the pain in her wrists, falling beside him in the dirt. Her sobs tore through the stillness, raw and animal, as she cradled what remained. He reached out without thinking, then froze, terrified of touching, terrified of making anything worse. The rancher who had faced gunfire and drought couldn't face her eyes. Each tear felt like a verdict. He remembered every rumor he'd believed, every shortcut he'd taken instead of asking questions. The West had taught him to act first and mourn later, but there was no later for this. The lantern flickered, light trembling like his hands. He whispered apologies that sounded thin and useless, words swallowed by her grief. Somewhere deep inside, something hardened and broke at the same time. He knew he would carry this moment longer than any scar, longer than any winter. Finishing it had not ended the problem. It had revealed the cost. By dawn, the rancher sat alone outside the barn, hat crushed in his hands. The land looked the same, endless, indifferent, but he was not. He knew the town would talk, would judge, would simplify the story into something easy to swallow. He wouldn't correct them. Punishment, he realized, wasn't always delivered by law or rope. Sometimes it lived in memory, replaying a whisper you should have listened to. Don't do that, please. The words echoed with every breath. He rose slowly, shoulders bowed under a weight no one else could see. From that day on, he would hesitate where once he acted without pause. In the Wild West, that hesitation might cost him his life. But living with what he'd done had already cost him something far greater.